Welcome to another Straggtales and another candidate for person who will most likely not be Mother of the Year. So you have this person by the name of Tiaundra Christon who was just sentenced to 20 years in prison, and honestly, she should have got sentenced to life for tossing her 2-year-old dead daughter into a lake. And to make matters worse, she ended up replacing this daughter with a life-size doll that looks like the daughter that she tossed into the lake. Keep in mind, y'all, she got sentenced 20 years for this. Let's get into it. The 911 call from a Texas mother that her 2-year-old daughter had gone missing in a park launched a massive search and rescue operation involving at least 163 people, including police and first responders. The mom, Tiaundra Christon, said had recently returned to College Station after a trip to Houston to visit her boyfriend. Friends and after reported believing they'd glimpsed the child with Christon, and surveillance video from a Walmart showed footage of the mother pushing what appeared to be her daughter in a stroller. But the urgent search for little Hazana Anderson, prompted by her mother's frantic call on October 28, 2018, took a dark turn after College Station police officers discovered a life-size doll dressed in clothing identical to what the mom said her child was wearing in a trash can across the street from where Christian had parked. And as investigators unraveled the woman's claims, they learned Hazana had died days earlier, and the mother and her boyfriend had dumped the body in a lake, according to the Galveston County District Attorney's Office. A coroner could not determine the cause of time of the child's death, but on Monday, Christian was sentenced to 20 years in prison after being convicted of tampering with the human corpse. So you mean to tell me murder wasn't on the table? Because I don't think the little girl got into the trash and dumped herself over into that lake. The boyfriend, Kenny Hewitt, received the same sentence in November 2019 after pleading guilty to an identical charge. A news release from the district attorney's office described the investigation. After finding the doll, police learned that Kristen created and carried around the doll following her return from Houston, pretending it was her child. She later confessed that her child had died at the Downtowner Inn hotel room where she and her boyfriend had stayed while in Houston, after the baby suffered abuse from Hewitt and Kristen. A probable cause affidavit says that on October 19, 2018, Hewitt left the hotel with the child to get food, returning after 30 minutes with the toddler crying. Hewitt then began beating the child with a belt, according to the affidavit, and told Kristen to do the same, but when he claimed she wasn't hitting the child hard enough, Hewitt resumed the beating himself. Kristen told police that she noticed her daughter slipping in and out of consciousness, to which she and Hewitt responded by placing Hazana in a bathtub, hoping to revive her. While lifting her from the bathtub, Kristen says she noticed the child had allegedly been sexually abused, the affidavit states. And that was one of the things that I was going to ask or wonder when he had took her for 30 minutes. Did he do something inappropriate to this child? As far as I'm concerned, both of these people are trash, but she's even more trash because she allowed this guy who is not the father of the child to do this to her child. Not saying that it would have been okay if the father did it, because that would have been even worse, because that's your flesh. But still, she let this guy beat and apparently sexually abuse her daughter, which also led to her daughter being killed by this dude, and she aided in it. She allowed it to happen. This is like the reverse of what was going on with Cynthia Baker and the sperm donor. With the little girl cold to the touch, Kristen told police that she and Hewitt used a hairdryer in an effort to warm her up, but the hairdryer burned her skin. Oh my goodness. You want to know when I keep saying some people shouldn't have kids? Look at the person on the left. You thought a hairdryer was going to warm your child up. My first instinct was, were you trying to electrocute your child? And they said the dryer ended up burning her. Hosanna died that night, Christon said, according to the affidavit. The mother hid the body inside a plastic bag in the backseat of her car for 3 days before. On October 23rd, she and Hewitt wrapped the bag with rope and affixed a heavy rock to it. Christon later led authorities to her daughter's remains, which were recovered by a dive team in Moses Lake and identified on the scene, said the district attorney's office. A medical examiner testified at Christon's trial, testified that the injuries that caused Hosanna's bruising would not have been enough to cause her death, but she was otherwise unable to determine a cause that might have led to homicide charges. So basically, they're saying that the markings on her body shouldn't have killed her, or she probably was still alive, and it could have been a possibility that she died while in that bag, and she could have still been alive when they were putting her in the bag. I'm still trying to figure out how in the hell she only got 20 years. Jurors deliberated for about 20 minutes before finding Christon guilty on Friday. They then spent 40 minutes deliberating on Monday before recommending the maximum punishment of 20 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Maximum? How in the world does what she did along with her boyfriend only get 20 years? And mind you, he got the same amount of time as she did. They both got 20 years for the brutal murder of this little girl. Christon will be eligible for parole after serving at least 5 years. Are you kidding me? Are y'all hearing this right now? She may not even have to do the whole 20 years. I, for one, am actually speechless by this. I said 20 years is not enough time for what she did. And they're saying she can be eligible for parole in 5 years. Did y'all just read? I mean, not read. Did y'all just hear what I read here? Tell me, how does that not constitute life in prison? How? I'm trying to figure this out right now. I'm literally at a loss for words right now. I am pissed. It may not sound like it, but I am. This woman, along with her boyfriend, recklessly endangered the life of this child. He might have sexually abused her. They beat this child, put her in water to try to revive her. She slipped in and out of consciousness, tried to warm her cold body with when her body was turning cold, that means she was pretty much near death. And they said tried to warm her body up with a hairdryer, ended up burning her, threw her body into a trash bag, attached a rock to it so her body wouldn't float, and then threw her into a lake, and then went and got a life-size doll, put clothes on her that resembled those of the clothes that her daughter would wear, and got a doll that looked like her daughter, and pretended that the doll was her daughter. And all she got for that was a maximum of 20 years, a $10,000 fine, and a potential for eligible parole in 5 years. Somebody out there, please help me make it make sense. And this happened in Texas, a place that I know has the death penalty. I know they have capital punishment laws. Like, that's a slap on the wrist, if you ask me. There is no way in hell that this woman should got that light of a sentence for what she did to her own daughter. What, did she take an insanity plea because she was walking around with a life-size doll that she pretended was her daughter? Y'all probably like, Torian, how do you get through these kind of stories? I don't know. I sincerely don't know. Like, if this story does not make you want to jump through the screen and break her orbital bone to the point where she's breathing out of her mouth for a very long time, you must not have a soul. This little girl did not deserve what happened to her at the hands of her womb carrier and that bastard that she was laid up with. Like I said, I think what gets me is the fact that this reminds me so much of Cynthia Baker and the sperm donor, Tarika Roundtree. It reminds me so much of that story. But in reverse. You had the womb carrier, lead this child to her abuser, who was the person she was laid up with, her boyfriend. That piece of shit. But RIP to this little girl. She didn't stand a chance. She didn't have a fighting chance ever of escaping the clutches of the womb carrier that she was once attached to. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure y'all have that bell click and your notifications set to all. And I will talk to you in the next one.